Story 1. The trail that ends nowhere. The sign at the trailhead said 2 hours to the summit. I started at noon. Water, a snack, my phone. Easy day hike. I had done harder routes than this. By 2 o'clock, I was still climbing through pine trees. The path was gravel, narrow, with roots crossing it every few feet. Normal mountain trail. I was not worried. By 3, I started checking my phone. No signal. The map app showed a spinning circle. I had been walking for 3 hours, and the trees looked exactly the same as they had at the beginning. Same spacing, same height, same gray sky pressing down flat through the branches. I told myself, wrong turn. I turned around and walked back the way I'd come. 40 minutes later, I saw it. Left side of the trail, a crushed plastic water bottle. I remembered passing it on the way up. I had passed it on my right going up. It should be on my right going down. It was on my left. I stood still for a long time looking at it. Then I kept walking because stopping felt worse than not understanding. My legs moved on their own. I kept my eyes forward and breathed through my nose and told myself there was an explanation. Simple disorientation. It happens to hikers all the time. 20 minutes later, I found the jacket. Dark green, hanging on a low branch. Not thrown there by wind. Folded. Placed carefully over the branch like someone had taken it off in a hurry but still found the time to do it right. The fabric was stiff, faded in patches where the sun had hit it over a long time. I did not touch it. The light was changing. Not sunset, something flatter. The color being pulled out of everything slowly, like water draining. I walked faster. Then I jogged. The gravel was loud under my feet, and my breath came hard, and I kept my eyes on the path ahead and did not look into the trees on either side. Then the footsteps started behind me. 1 step for every one of mine. Same pace, same weight. I stopped. They stopped. I ran. They ran. I ran until my legs gave and I hit the gravel on my hands and knees and stayed there with my face down and did not look back. After a long time, I stood up. Ahead on the path. The crushed water bottle, left side, and on the branch beside me, the dark green jacket, folded. I had been running for 20 minutes. I had not moved at all. I understood then that turning around was not the answer. The trail would not let me go backward, so I walked forward. I kept my eyes straight ahead and counted my steps. One way to hold on to something real is to count. 500 steps. The trees did not change. 1,000. Same gravel. 1,500, and I stopped counting because the number felt like it was leading somewhere I did not want to follow. I started looking at the trees instead, something to focus on other than the path. And that was when I noticed the scratches on the bark, shoulder height, groups of 4 shallow lines, pale against the dark wood, like someone had dragged their fingernails through the outer layer. Not deep, just enough to leave a mark. They appeared irregularly, sometimes clustered, sometimes 30 or 40 feet apart. I touched one. The edges were soft, old. I kept walking and kept looking, and somewhere around the 2,000th step, I felt something wrong with my right hand. I looked down at it. My fingers were dirty, bark dust under the nails. The tips of 2 fingers raw and slightly tender. I had been trailing my hand along the trees without knowing it. The entire time, without feeling it. I looked at the tree beside me. Fresh scratches, pale and wet at the edges. Still saw 4 lines, my 4 fingers. I pulled my hand away and shoved it into my pocket and walked with both arms tight at my sides. I did not touch anything. I kept my eyes forward. I breathed. The light kept flattening. The sky was the color of old concrete. I could not find the sun in it. I had been on the trail for 4 hours, or 8. My phone was dead. My water was gone. Then the trees ended. I was standing in the trailhead parking lot. My car was there. The sign was there. 2 hours to the summit. The sun was setting behind the ridge. I drove home without stopping. I did not think about it for 3 weeks. Then I looked it up. A hiking forum. A post from 2 years ago. Someone asking if anyone else had experienced time loss on the northern route. 12 replies. Different seasons. Different years. The same description every time. The path that would not end. The footsteps matching yours from behind. Waking up at the trailhead with hours missing and no memory of how you got there. One reply at the bottom said the original poster had been reported missing 6 months after the thread was made. The username on that reply was one I did not recognize. The profile picture was a dark green jacket, folded neatly over a branch. I closed a page. That night I heard gravel crunching outside my apartment window, slow and even. Patient. My apartment is on the 4th floor. There are no trails near my building. There is no gravel on my street. I did not open the curtains. In the morning, it had stopped. I checked my right hand. Bark dust under the nails. The same 2 fingers. Raw at the tips. I have not gone back. I have not looked at that form again. I keep my right hand in my pocket when I walk outside now. I am not sure why. It just feels important to not let it reach for anything on its own. Last week, a friend asked me to go hiking. Easy trail, she said. 2 hours to the summit. I told her I was busy. She sent me a photo from the trailhead. Pine trees on both sides of a gravel path. Gray sky through the branches. I recognized the sign. I recognized the bottle on the left side of the path behind her. She has not replied to my messages since. Story 2. The room next door. The Gosiwan room was small and cheap, and I had a licensing exam in 3 weeks. I needed a desk, a bed, a door that locked, and quiet. The landlord said the room next to mine had been empty for a while. He said it the way people say things they do not want you to ask about. I did not ask. I moved in on a Sunday, unpacked in an hour, started studying. The building had normal sounds, pipes, a television on the floor above, a couple on the 3rd floor who argued at midnight in voices too low to make out words. I slept through all of it by day 3. Wednesday night I heard something new. From behind the wall on my right, the wall I shared with the empty room, scratching, slow and even, like one fingernail being drawn along wallpaper in a straight line, back and forth, the same length each time, measured, not frantic, almost careful. I knocked on the wall. It stopped. I told myself, rat. Old buildings have rats. I put my headphones in. Thursday it came back. Same time, little after 11. I timed it the next night, 11:40 to midnight exactly. 20 minutes, not approximately. Exactly. 3 nights in a row, never more than a few seconds off. I checked with the landlord. No one had moved in next door. He said it quickly and looked at something behind me when he said it. By the end of the first week, I was sleeping through it. The brain adjusts to patterns. It became part of the room, the way the pipe sounds were part of the room. Then it moved. Not from the wall, from the ceiling directly above my head. Same rhythm, same pace. Like something that had practiced the motion until it did not need to think about it anymore. I lay in bed and stared up and told myself the person upstairs. Told myself old wood expanding at night. Almost believed it. Then it moved again, to the floor, under the boards, traveling from one end of the room to the other and back. Slow, deliberate. Like something learning the exact dimensions of the space I was sitting in. I stood up. It stopped. I sat down. It started. I did this 4 times. It knew where I was. I left that night. Slept at a Jim Jill bang with strangers and felt nothing but relief. Stayed 2 more nights. Told myself it was done. The 3rd day I went back. The room was quiet. I sat at my desk. I opened my notes. I breathed slowly. 11:40. The scratching started. Not from the wall. Not from the ceiling. Not from the floor. From inside my desk drawer. I sat and stared at the drawer. It was a cheap pressed wood desk I had bought secondhand the week before I moved in. The drawer had come with the factory seal tape still on it. I had been using the shelf above for everything. I sat there for a long time. Then I opened it. The inside of the drawer was covered in marks. Tally marks. Groups of 4 lines scratched into the wood with something small and pointed. They covered the entire bottom surface, layered over each other where the wood had run out of space. I counted what I could make out. 340 nights. I had been in that room for 9 days. I moved out the next morning. Told the landlord I had found somewhere closer to the exam center. He nodded. Did not ask for a reason. Did not seem surprised. I passed my exam. I got a proper apartment. I did not think about the drawer for almost a year. Then last month I was helping a friend look for a place to stay during her own exam period. She found a Gosiwan listing online. Cheap. Close to the test center. Good reviews. I looked at the address. I recognized it. I called her immediately. She did not pick up. I sent a message. No reply for 6 hours. When she finally replied, she said everything was fine. She said the room was small but quiet. She said the wall next to her bed made a strange sound at night, but she was sleeping through it already. I told her to leave. She said I was being dramatic. She has not replied since yesterday. It is 11:39 right now. Story 3. The call at 247. The first night I missed it. Phone on silent. I woke up at 3 and saw the notification. One missed call. 2:47 a.m. Unknown number. I went back to sleep. Second night, the same. 247. Unknown. I let it ring out. Third night I picked up. Static. Then a voice I knew without needing to think about it. Low and tired, the way someone sounds when they are exhausted past the point of sleep fixing it. It was Jihan, my roommate from university. We had shared a room for 2 years. I had not seen him in 4 years, but I knew his voice immediately. He said my name. I said his. He said he was so tired. I asked where he was calling from. He said he could not remember. He said the light was very bright. Not a lamp. All of it. All the light. Everywhere. He said he had to go. The call ended. I texted him. No reply. I called his number. It rang out. In the morning, I called his mother. She answered on the first ring. Her voice was the kind of quiet that lives on the other side of a long time crying. Jihan had been in a car accident 5 days ago. He had not survived. I sat on my kitchen floor and did not move for a long time. The calls kept coming. 247 every night. Same voice. Always tired. He told me he had gone to our old campus. He said it looked smaller than he remembered. He told me he had tried to go home, but could not find it. He said he was not scared. He just sounded lost. The way someone sounds when they have been walking a long time and are not sure they are going in the right direction. I picked up every night. I do not know if that was right. I do not know what right was. He was my friend and he was calling and I picked up. 3 weeks after the accident, he called and said he thought he knew where to go. He said the light was different now, softer, like morning instead of noon. He said my name one more time. He said thank you. I said take care of yourself. The call ended. I sat with my phone in both hands and waited. 11 nights with no call. I stopped waiting up at 2:47. I started sleeping through that hour again. I thought it was finished. I thought he had found wherever he was going, and that was a thing that could bring me some peace, even if I could not explain any of it. On the 12th night, my phone rang. 2:47, unknown number. I picked up thinking it might be one final call, thinking maybe he had something left to say. The voice on the line was not Jihan. I did not recognize it for a moment. It took me several seconds to place it because we never hear our own voice the way others hear it. Recordings always sound wrong. Too flat, too thin, but it was mine. My voice, tired, the same exhaustion Jihan had carried in every call. Low and slow and coming from somewhere very far away. It said my name. Then it said I am so tired. The light here is so bright. I do not know where I am. I did not say anything. I could not. It said, please pick up. It said I have been calling for a long time. The line was quiet for a moment. Then it said, are you there? I am still holding the phone. I have not moved. Story 4. What she left on the table. My grandmother died on a Tuesday morning. I found out through my mother, who found out through a neighbor because my grandmother had never owned a phone. She said there was no one she needed to reach quickly enough to justify it. I had not visited in 2 years. Work, I told myself. Distance. The particular cowardice of people who love someone and keep finding reasons not to go. I took the first bus south the next morning. 4 hours. The kind of town where the bus stops at a general store and everyone on the street already knows who you are, even if they have only seen you twice. Her house was unlocked. It was always unlocked. Inside, everything was exactly in its place. The worn wooden table where she ate every meal. The cabinet with the good bowls. The small television she watched at 6 every evening. The jar of red pepper paste in the corner that had been there my entire life. On the table there was a bowl of sulong tang, white and thick, steam rising slowly from the surface, still warm. I stood in the doorway and looked at it. My mother had said she was gone before 8 in the morning. The neighbor had checked. It was almost 3 in the afternoon. The soup was still warm. I sat down at the table. Not in her chair. I never sat in her chair. I sat across from it and looked at the bowl and the small dish of salt beside it. She always put salt on the side because she said everyone seasons differently, and it was not her place to decide for you. She had made it for me. I knew that without asking. I knew it the way you know things about people you have loved for your whole life. She had known I was coming. I had not told anyone I was coming. I had decided on the bus that morning, looking out at the rice fields going past the window. I picked up the spoon. I ate the soup. It tasted exactly the way I remembered. The way things taste in memory are never quite right when you find them again. But this was exactly right. The depth of it, the warmth, the particular weight of it. After I finished, I washed the bowl. I washed the salt dish. I dried them and put them back in the cabinet with the other good bowls, the ones she kept for guests. I cleaned the house the way she would have wanted, swept the floor, wiped the table, folded her sleeping blanket and placed it in the chest where she kept her things. Inside the chest, on top of her folded clothes, there was an envelope. My name on the front. Just my name, no address. Her handwriting. The kind of penmanship from a generation that learned it as something serious. I opened it. It said, "I have been waiting for you to come back. I knew you would. Do not feel sorry for the time. Guilt is a waste of warmth. Come and eat when you are hungry. Come and sit when you are tired. I will not be far." Below that, in smaller letters, "The soup should still be warm." I made it her. I sat on the floor of her house with the letter in both hands. Not crying yet, just sitting with it. The house felt full. Not the way houses feel after someone has left them. Full the way her house had always felt. Warm and a little cluttered and quietly loved. I took the evening bus home. At the door of my apartment, I stopped. I could smell so long time. Clear and warm, filling the hallway. I do not own ox bones. I had not cooked anything in days. I opened the door. There was no soup. The kitchen was cold and empty, but the chair at my table had been pulled out slightly, just a few inches. The way she always left a chair when she wanted you to know there was a place for you. I sat down. I said, "Thank you, grandmother." The room did not answer, but it did not feel empty either. It felt the way her house had always felt, full and warm and quietly loved. Story 5. The One Who Stayed. I lost a baby in February. That is the medical way of saying it. I used the medical language for a long time because it made a kind of distance, and I needed the distance. My husband took leave from work. My mother came for a week. People brought food and said careful, gentle things and then went back to their lives because that is what you do, and I do not blame any of them for it. By March, I was alone in the apartment most of the day. My husband went back to work. My mother went home to Busan. I learned to go to the grocery store again, early in the morning when it was quiet and I was unlikely to see anyone I knew. We had prepared a corner of the second bedroom, just a small wooden shelf, a mobile we had bought too early because we were too happy to be careful. After February, I could not go into that room. I kept the door shut. In April, I started hearing it, not crying. Nothing as clear as that. A sound without edges, soft, like slow, even breathing behind a closed door. It came from the second bedroom. It came every night just after 11, and it lasted about an hour. I told myself the building, old pipes, the neighbors upstairs with their window open. I kept the door shut. In May, I opened it. The room was exactly as we had left it. The shelf, the mobile hanging still in the quiet air, the small folded blanket we had never used. The window was closed. The room was still. The sound was not there. I stood in the doorway for a long time. Then I went inside and sat down on the floor next to the shelf. I did not do anything. I just sat. After a few minutes, the sound came back. Not from across the room, from the space right beside me, soft and very close. I put my hand flat on the floor. The floor was warm, just that one spot, just there beside my hand. Warm the way something living is warm. I sat with my hand on that spot until the sound stopped and the warmth faded. Then I went back to bed. I went back the next night, and the next. I started talking in there. Not words at first, just sounds. The soft, quiet sounds you make without thinking when you're close to someone small. The sounds that mean I am here. I see you. You are not alone. The warmth stayed while I talked. It faded when I stopped. I told it about the mobile, what each shape was called and why we had picked that one over the others in the shop. I talked about the name we had chosen and what it meant and why my husband had suggested it. I talked about the blanket, the market in Insadong where we found it, the woman who sold it, how she had folded it so carefully before handing it to us. I do not know if any of that reached anywhere. I do not know exactly what I believe. I know the floor was warm. I know the sound was real. I know that sitting in that room felt different from grief. Grief has a particular weight that presses down. This was something lighter, something that stayed close. In June, I wound the mobile for the first time. We had never wound it before. I had not wanted to touch it after February. It played 4 notes. Simple. Repeating. I sat on the floor. The warmth came back immediately, stronger than usual, right beside my hand. We sat like that for a long time, the two of us, while the mobile turned slowly above us and the 4 notes played over and over in the quiet room. In July, I told my husband. He went very still. Then he went to the room alone and stayed for a long time. When he came back, his eyes were red and he did not say anything for a while. Then he said, "The floor is warm in there." I said, "I know." He said, "What do we do?" I said, "We leave the door open now, so it knows it is not closed out." We have kept the door open since that night. The warmth comes back some evenings. Not every evening, but enough. On those nights, the apartment does not feel like a place where something was lost. It feels like a place where something decided to stay. Story 6. The last car. I worked late most nights that winter. The last subway was at 11:53. I always made it with a few minutes to spare, sometimes less. The platform would be nearly empty by then. A few other late workers. The occasional person who had missed every earlier train by one bad decision or another. I knew that platform the way you know a place you pass through every day without looking at it. That night I was the last one through the turnstile. The train was already there, doors open. I walked to my usual car, the 4th from the front, and got on. The doors closed behind me. The car was empty. That happens sometimes. Late enough, everyone spreads out. I sat in my usual seat, put my headphones in, looked at my phone. At the second stop, I looked up. Still empty. No one had boarded. I took my headphones out and listened. The train was louder without them. Wheels on the track. The hum of the overhead lights. From the far end of the car, past the last row of seats, I heard something else. Breathing. Not hidden. Not quiet. Slow and even, the way someone breathes when they are very relaxed or very focused on something. I looked toward the back of the car. The last seat on the left was occupied. A woman, sitting very straight, hands in her lap. She had not been there when I boarded. I was certain of that. The car had been empty. I had looked. She was looking at me, not glancing, looking. The direct, patient way someone looks at you when they have been watching for a while and have stopped trying to hide it. I looked back at my phone. At the next stop, I checked the platform. Bright lights. A few people waiting for the next line. Normal. I looked back into the car. She had not moved. Still looking. Still that slow, even breathing, just audible over the sound of the train. I got up and walked to the door between cars. The next car was not empty. There were maybe 6 or 7 people distributed across the seats. Someone asleep near the window. A man reading something on his phone. A teenager with headphones. Normal late train. I stood there until the next stop and got off and walked 2 cars forward and got back on. I sat down near a group of 3 office workers talking quietly. I kept my eyes on the door I had come through. It stayed closed. I started to feel the particular embarrassment of someone who has frightened themselves with nothing. The woman in the last car was just a person. People sit in empty cars. People look at things. It does not mean anything. The train stopped. 2 of the office workers got off. Then 1 more at the next stop. I was nearly alone again. Me and the sleeping man by the window. I checked my phone. 1 stop from mine. Then the door between cars opened. She came through it in the same unhurried way she had been sitting. Upright. Even. She walked to the center of the car and stopped and stood facing me. The sleeping man did not wake up. She looked at me the way she had been looking from the last seat. Patient, like she had all the time there was. My stop. The doors opened. I stood up and walked out without running because I told myself, do not run. I walked to the stairs and went up and did not look back. Outside, I flagged a taxi. I did not go back to that station for a week. I told myself it was nothing. A strange person on a late train. It happens in every city. Then I described her to my coworker. She had been on the same train that night, earlier car. I gave her a description. The way the woman sat, the way she looked, the straightness of her posture. My coworker put her coffee down. She said that sounds like the woman they found on that line last year, the one who had been sitting in the last car for 3 days before anyone noticed. She said it as a piece of trivia, something she had heard. I did not say anything. She said they think she had been there since the last train. Since about 11:53, I started taking a different line home after that. Longer commute. 2 transfers. I did not care. The new route was well lit and the cars were never empty, and no one looked at me in a way I could not explain. That lasted 6 weeks. Then my transfer station changed its schedule. Construction. The new route added 40 minutes each way. I could not sustain it. My manager noticed I was coming in tired. I stopped having time to eat properly. After 6 weeks, I was exhausted in the kind of way that makes small decisions feel enormous. I went back to the original line. I told myself it had been a long, strange night, and I had let myself get frightened of a person on a train, and that was all it had been. First night back, I took the 4th car. I sat in my usual seat. I did not look toward the back. Normal route, well lit. 3 other people in the car. I got off at my stop and walked home and slept well for the first time in weeks. The second night was the same, and the third. By the 4th night, I had stopped thinking about it. I boarded, sat down, put my headphones in. At the second stop, I felt something and took my headphones out. The 3 other passengers were gone. The car was empty. From the back, past the last row of seats, I heard it, slow and even, patient, like someone who has been sitting in the same place for a very long time and has learned how to wait. I turned around. Last seat on the left. She was there. She was looking at me. And beside her, in the seat closest to the window, there was someone else. Someone who had not been there a moment ago. I recognized a coat. It was mine. Sitting upright, hands in the lap, looking forward. The doors opened at the next stop. I do not know how I got off the train. I do not know how I got home. I have not been back. But every night at 11:53, I hear the train pass on the elevated track outside my window. And every night, just for a moment, I hear breathing. Slow, even, patient, right outside the glass. I went back the next morning and counted again. The letter was dated 3 days before she died. She had written it, sealed it, placed it on top of her folded clothes, and then made soup. Then she had waited. I have thought about that a lot since. The particular patience of it, the certainty. She had not written just in case. She had written because she knew. She had made the soup because she knew exactly when I would arrive, and she did not want me to be hungry after 4 hours on a bus. My grandmother had always been that way. She never needed to be told anything twice. She always knew what you needed before you asked. My mother used to say she was just perceptive. Attentive in the way that older generations learned to be attentive because no one was going to take care of things if they did not. I think it was something more than that. I think she had been saying goodbye for a while. In small ways. The kind of ways you only understand looking back. The phone calls that were a little longer than usual. The way she asked about specific things, small details of my life, as if she was filing them away carefully. The recipe she had written out for me last year and mailed without explanation. I had thought it was just something she wanted to pass on. I made the soup last week, for the first time. I followed her recipe exactly. It tasted right. And when I sat down at the table, the chair across from me was pulled out slightly. Just a few inches. Just enough. I set a bowl on that side of the table too. I do not know why. My hands just did it. I ate my meal and talked about my week the way I used to when I called her on Sundays. I talked about work, about the weather, about nothing important. The soup on the other side of the table did not go cold. Not for a long time. Story 5. The One Who Stayed. I lost the baby in February. I used the medical language for a long time because it made distance, and I needed the distance. My husband took leave from work. My mother came for a week. People brought food and said careful things and then went back to their lives because that is what you do, and I understand it. By March, I was alone in the apartment most of the day. I learned to go to the grocery store again, very early, when it was quiet. We had prepared a corner of the second bedroom, a small shelf, a mobile we had bought too early because we were too happy to be careful. After February, I kept the doors shut. In April, I started hearing it. not crying. A sound without edges, soft, like slow breathing behind a closed door. From the second bedroom, every night just after 11, about an hour each time. I told myself, old pipes. Neighbors upstairs. I kept the door shut. In May, I opened it. The room was exactly as we had left it. The shelf, the mobile, the small folded blanket we had never used. The window was closed. The room was still. The sound was not there. I went inside anyway and sat on the floor beside the shelf. After a few minutes, the sound came back. Not from across the room, from right beside me. Soft and close. I put my hand flat on the floor. Warm. Just that one spot. Warm the way something living is warm. I sat there until the warmth faded. Then I went to bed. I came back the next night. And the next. I started talking. Soft sounds at first. Then words. I talked about the mobile. The name we had chosen. The blanket from the market in Insadong. I talked the way you talk to someone small who cannot answer back, but is listening. The warmth stayed while I talked. In June, I wound the mobile for the first time. It played 4 notes. Simple. Repeating. I had not heard it before. I sat down on the floor. The warmth came back immediately, stronger than before. The 4 notes played over and over in the quiet room, and the mobile turned slowly, and I sat there with my hand on the warm floor and did not say anything. I just stayed. In July, I told my husband. He listened without saying anything. Then he went to the room alone. He was in there for 20 minutes. When he came back, his eyes were red. He said, the floor is warm in there. I said, I know. He said, what do we do? I said, we keep the door open now, so it knows it is not shut out. We have kept the door open since that night. Some evenings the warmth comes back. Not every evening, but enough. On those evenings I go in and sit on the floor, and sometimes I talk and sometimes I just stay. My husband comes in sometimes. We sit together for a while without needing to say anything. The mobile turns even when there is no wind. I have stopped trying to explain that. Last week I bought a small plant for the shelf. Something that needed light and attention. Something alive. I water it in the mornings and talk to it the way I talk in there at night. I do not know if that is strange. It does not feel strange. The room does not feel like a place where something was lost. It feels like a place where something decided to stay. Something that is still here in whatever way it can be. Small and quiet and close. Some nights I fall asleep in there on the floor. My husband always puts a blanket over me. The small folded blanket from the shelf. In the morning, the floor under my hand is still warm. Story 6. The last car. I worked late most nights that winter. The last subway was at 11:53. I always made it with a few minutes to spare. The platform was nearly empty by then. A few other late workers. The odd person who had missed every earlier train. That night I boarded the 4th car from the front. My usual car. The doors closed. The car was empty. At the second stop, I looked up from my phone. Still empty. No one had boarded. From the far end of the car, past the last row of seats, I heard breathing. Slow and even. I looked toward the back. Last seat on the left. A woman. Sitting very straight. Hands folded in her lap. She had not been there when I boarded. The car had been empty. I was certain. She was looking at me. Not glancing. Looking. Direct and patient. The way someone looks when they have been watching for a while and have stopped trying to hide it. I moved to the next car. Sat near a group of office workers. Kept my eyes on the door behind me. It stayed closed. At my stop, I got off and walked home and told myself it was nothing. A person on a late train. It happens. Then I described her to my coworker the next day. The way she sat, the straightness, the way she looked. My coworker put her coffee down. She said that sounds like the woman they found on that line last year. She had been sitting in the last car for 3 days before anyone noticed. They think she had been there since the final run. Since about 11:53, I did not say anything. I stopped taking that line for 6 weeks. Then I went back. First night, second night, third night, normal. I started to feel foolish. Fourth night, second stop, I took my headphones out. The car was empty. From the back, slow and even. Patient, I turned around. Last seat on the left. She was there, looking. And in the seat beside her, something that had not been there a moment before. Someone sitting upright, hands in the lap, looking forward. I recognized a coat. It was mine. The doors opened. I do not know how I got off the train. I do not know how I got home. Every night now at 11:53, I hear the train pass on the elevated track outside my window. And every night, just for a moment, the breathing comes. Right outside the glass. Slow. Even. Patient. Like something that has all the time there is.